This is a Widdicomb dresser I picked up on Facebook Marketplace recently. It's not my usual mid-century style, but I had previously refinished a John Widdicomb MCM bedroom set many months ago, and it was so well made and of such good quality materials that when I saw this one with the Widdicomb name on it, I said, yeah, you know what? It's not mid-century, but it does have a vibe that spoke to me. So I just said, I'm going to give it a try. I'm looking at the top and wondering if the top color is original to the piece. It's quite possible that the black is original because there is black detailing around the edges as well. And I can tell the top has been sprayed because there is overspray on the back of the cabinet. You can also see that there was probably a mirror attached to the back at some point. Once I remove the black paint, I'll be able to tell if the paint is original or not. If the wood is not that nice underneath, then the wood was originally painted. The furniture company would not have painted over nice veneer. If I find a good veneer, then, well, in the past somebody must have decided to paint it. So depending on what I find, I will either paint it or expose and refinish some really nice veneer. It's definitely got issues. The finish is failing, obviously. I'm not even sure what kind of wood it is. I'll hazard a guess once I get the finish off. The veneer is bubbling here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see where the wood is separating here. I'm hoping some wood glue and clamping will take care of that. I like the contrast between the dark and light geometric pattern. How I'm going to replicate it, I'm not sure. There's a lot of scratches and gouges, but despite all its problems, I just have a good feeling about it. I almost always start my refinishing with scraping, and there's 3 reasons for this. The first being that it's not stinky because I don't have to use chemicals and I don't have to dispose of harmful chemicals. Number 2 that it's cheaper than chemically stripping and sanding because all you need is a scraper. And number 3, it doesn't eat through the veneer like sanding has the potential to do. But sometimes you have to resort to stripper because the scraper just wasn't taking off the finish and sanding wasn't helping much either. So I decided that it was time to get out the stinky stuff. Well, it is now official. The top has always been painted black. I can tell this by the fact that the wood is not a nice veneer. It almost has the look of a birch plywood, so I'm definitely going to repaint it in black like it was originally intended to be. I think it'll look nice. If you have watched any of my previous videos, you know that my favorite stripper is circa 1850 in the gel formula, and I'm using that now to remove the finish from the sides of the dresser. The hardware looks to be brass and is definitely original to the piece. I'll clean it up later and see what it looks like. There was some water damage at some point to the drawer, the top drawer, and you can see here how the veneer is lifting from the substrate. So I'm going to have to do some gluing, a lot of gluing. To apply even pressure to the edge I just glued up, I use a long piece of wood, then I clamp it. I'm of the opinion that you can never use enough clamps. I let these sit overnight and I take them off in the morning. Check in later to see if I'm successful. Sanding and scraping go hand in hand. Once I remove most of the finish with scraping or stripping, I switch to sanding and often just flip back and forth between the two. I'm mixing up a bit of wood epoxy here to fill in a couple of the little holes that are in the various spots around the dresser. This one's at the back. This one was quite a big one, so I'm going to work it out and get it ready to sand. On a repair like this one, I mold the putty as best I can to the profile. Then I let it set for maybe, I don't know, a couple hours, and then I come back and add some more until I build up enough surface so it matches the profile better. It looks good. It looks like all the veneer has flattened down. You can see the discoloration at the top where the veneer was separating. It's all along the edge here. I'll try to get a shot from the end to see if you can see a little better the way it's flattened out. Not bad.
If you enjoy watching my videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out my YouTube channel and hopefully it will spur YouTube on to recommending my videos to people who enjoy this type of content. Thanks. On the previous repair I did, there's still a low spot here, so I'm going to try to add a little bit more epoxy putty and bring the profile up a little bit so it just matches a bit better. Here's another repair to a drawer corner. This is the top right corner of the bottom drawer. When I scraped the finish off, I could see that there had been a previous repair job on it. The middle piece here is glued in solid, so I'm going to just leave that. But on either side, there was 2 gouges which they had filled with wax, so I scraped the wax out. My idea is, I think because I don't have any veneer that matches this drawer front, I think what I'm going to do is just fill it with epoxy putty and try to color match at the end with some paints. I took the clamps off here, and there is definitely a bit of glue residue that I have to scrape off. The inside of the drawers appear to be mahogany, really nice mahogany. I can tell there's no like major stains or discoloration. They're going to look really nice.
Here is the loose, here's the loose dovetail. As you can see, these ones are really sturdy, so the ones back here are really sturdy, so I can't really knock the whole thing out and re-glue it. It's only these two that are failing. So I'm going to try to lift it up, put some glue, force some glue down in there. A syringe won't fit, so I'm not going to use a glue syringe. I'm just going to put some of the glue and try to use the little bit of dental floss here I have to work it in, and just see what happens. Then I'll put a clamp on it.
I've sanded the raised pattern and I'm working on the background now. So given an initial sand to this part, you can see it's fairly clean. This part, not so much. I still have to work on this part. You can see the raised bits. It's tedious work, but it has to be done because I'm going to be painting the background black, just like it originally was. So it has to be cleaned up. This is by far the largest repair I had to do on the dresser. And unfortunately, for some unknown reason, I didn't take a picture of the before with the chunk missing. But you can see by the amount of epoxy putty I have on the back leg here that it was a substantial piece missing. I'm going to go in here and give it a sand and just try to shape it a little bit closer to the profile of the back leg. The nice part about painting something that's concave like this is that if you get paint over the edges, you can just sand it off.
Here's a really bad paint job I did on the, I don't know what these are, but the design element on the side. To me, they look like little leaves. And as you can see, the paint's everywhere. But it's easier to paint it like that than to be super precise because it would take forever. So what I do is after I've painted, it looks awful, I just take sandpaper and as you can see, all the black paint that was all over it is gone now. I will give it a second go and do exactly the same thing, and then it'll be good to go.
I'm using a vinyl sealer here to seal the wood on the top in preparation for the paint. I'm doing this because there seems to be some staining on the top and almost like some oily finish on it. So I'm just sealing everything in so nothing leaches through the paint. I think I gave it 3 coats. In between I just sanded just to take some of the roughness out. I'm using Fusion mineral paint in the color black. Coal black, I believe. I'm readjusting my spray pattern. It's too light. The paint is not going on dark enough, so I'm making some adjustments off camera. I also found that the first 2 coats of coal black that I put on, I didn't dilute it. I put it full strength, and I just didn't like the way it was laying down. It wasn't laying down nice and smooth. So when I went in with the 3rd coat, which I really didn't need because it covered really well, I just didn't like the way it was laying down. So I watered it down a little bit and put the 3rd coat on. It looked much better after that. Okay, it wouldn't be a furniture refinishing video if I didn't do one stupid thing during the whole process. So this is it. I didn't fully tape off the drawer fronts and got overspray from the black paint on the bottom drawer and the bottom legs. So I had to go in and sand it all off before I moved on to the next step. From some research I've done, the label inside the top drawer indicates the dresser was manufactured sometime between 1917 and 1937. I'm still not sure what kind of burled wood this is. I know the wood is yellow, obviously, and I really wanted to leave the natural color, so that's why I opted not to stain it, just to oil it. Oiling a piece never ceases to amaze me. The burled wood is just gleaming. I wish you could see it in person. The camera really doesn't do it justice. I am curious to find out if anyone knows what kind of wood this is. If you just drop me a line in the comment section, I'd appreciate it. Before I add the oil to the design element at the top of the dresser, I'm going in with 220 grit sandpaper and sanding off all the little bits of black paint that inadvertently got on the raised part of the design. Here's the epoxy putty repair I did to one of the back legs. I'm going to try to camouflage it by using artist paints to minimize the repair. I start with a yellow, which is the overall base color of the dresser. And then I add on top of that a bit of the background color to the dresser, which is more a beigey color. And I just basically keep fiddling with it until I'm happy with it. I'm applying Fusion's beeswax finish to the top of the dresser, the painted part only, for a couple of reasons. I like to give it a little bit of added protection, as well as the Fusion paint is quite a flat finish, and when you add the beeswax to it, it just gives it a nice sort of satiny sheen, which I like. Once again, you've made it till the end of the restoration. This is probably one of the oldest dressers I've worked on. Definitely the style was out of my comfort zone. But despite that, I have found a new appreciation for furniture from this time period. Absolutely beautiful veneer and so well made. Not a bad find for $30. Enjoy the redo, and I'll see you next time.